Hey, what's up, Passionate DJs, and welcome once again to the Passionate DJ podcast. You know, normally during the month of January, we take a small break, me and the guys, just to sort of recover from the holidays and spend some time with family and hit the ground running in February. However, as most of you know, we spent a big majority of the summer last year on break, and it didn't feel right to take another break so soon after that. And so what I decided to do instead was actually play for you an old unpublished episode. So we're calling this the Lost Episode, and this was something that we recorded probably about a year ago, and because we went on that break, it just never got published. You know, sometimes we'll record what's called a bank episode, which is something that can kind of go live at any time in case we need something to fill in a spot, or we, you know, for whatever reason had to reschedule a recording or something like that. And so we've actually been saving this for that entire time, and I'm going to present it to you now. Sometimes we come in and just kind of have a free-form conversation and just see where, you know, what topics kind of come up naturally, and that's the kind of episode that this is. So we start out talking about some of Tony's adventures on the road. As you know, he does a lot of sort of backline audio tech and stage management and stuff like that at festivals and shows here in the States. And so he was shares some of his experiences there. Of course, we've removed some of the references that either wouldn't make sense because it's outdated or for other reasons that we need to protect the guilty. And we talk a little bit about, with Mo Dingo, about some of his mobile DJing adventures. He had just gotten the DDJ 1000 when we recorded this, and so he was testing out using that with Algorithms DJ software, using Spotify integration and taking requests and doing things at weddings and stuff like that. So you'll hear a little bit about that and just various other topics, whatever comes up naturally during the conversation. So I hope you enjoy this, what we're calling the Lost Episode of the Passionate DJ podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Passionate DJ podcast. I'm your host, David Michael. To my right is the one and only Tony DeCero. And to my left is the one and only Bro Dingo.
What's up, fellas?
How you doing, man?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. What have you been up to? You've been busy bee.
Been busy adulting lately.
Adulting, gross.
God,
never heard of such a thing.
Well, this guy's been busy too.
Yeah, you've been running around and like doing the Tony D thing.
Mm-hmm.
Run into any problems or anything while you were there?
Not really any problems. I mean, just your typical
your show
show glitches where something happens with the DJ and they turn around and look at you like, what's going on? You know?
Oh, what happened this year?
That old song and dance.
So one of the DJs was playing, and it was earlier on in the afternoon. Music stopped. I was over on stage right talking to Blake, which is our light guy. Video guy Blake. Yeah,
super intense,
he's
man.
Awesome.
I love that guy.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's Chicago as it gets.
He always sounds like he's yelling, but that's just how he talks.
Yeah, he's like Chicago Italian, like, you know. But he's I was over there talking to him, and the music had stopped, and I didn't realize it stopped, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and so I ran up on the riser, and the DJ that was playing at the time, he had the mic to his mouth, and he was just like, I said, "What's going on?"
He's not going to tell us who it is.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to tell you who it is. I said, "What's going on?" He's like, "Man, I don't know. I was playing and the music stopped." And the mic was live, so he was saying this, just talking like to the crowd.
In front of a couple thousand people.
And I had looked over at his controller, and his play pause button was blinking, and I was just like, music started playing.
Was it? And you were
that was it, yeah.
Keep the party going, kids.
But, I mean, it just kind of shows you that in the heat of the moment, like, you don't look at the smallest thing because the first thing you do is freak out, like, what's going on?
It must be something big that's wrong.
Right.
Because something that simple couldn't be the answer.
Right.
Yeah, especially if your first instinct is to blame somebody else. Like, maybe I'm being presumptuous by saying that, but like, I know in situations where that's happened to me, where something, the music just stops and you're like, what the hell? I don't go, that guy, get him. I'm like, what did I do? I must have hit the pause button, or my computer must have crashed or something, you know? So just to go straight to somebody else's problem is maybe problematic.
And that happens a lot, like, you know, and you have thousands of people in front of you. You don't want to sit there and look like you fucked, because everybody's looking at you. You know, they think you fucked up, which in a sense you kind of did.
Yeah.
You know, but they turn around and, you know, what's going on? They expect, you know, me to come up or whoever's managing and figure it out for them real quick.
When you're talking about one of those moments where the music just goes silent, I was doing one of my CrossFit events, and this is like in my earlier setup phases, and I play a track and I go to do something, and all of a sudden the music stops, and I'm thinking someone like stepped on a cord or whatever. I'm trying to figure it out, but what I didn't realize it was happening is the controller was on a regular table, and when I turned, I rubbed the fader. And it went to the right, and I'm like, I see all my meters going. I'm like, what's going on with? But
You gotta look, ladies, no hands.
A lot of the new guys don't use faders either, so that's another last thing that they look at. They don't look if everything's on through. If it's on one side's on two, and they hit the fader, they're like, oh.
You think there's like an experience or an inexperience problem where, maybe a more seasoned DJ would realize that there's like 3 or 4 different places you might want to check your gain staging to figure out if there's volume there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. A lot of the seasoned guys do it because, they play in front of big crowds all the time. But if you're not used to it, the first thing you do is panic,
Yeah.
So
the first, like you said, the first thing you think is something went wrong.
Yeah.
Not me. There's nothing I did. Something just happened.
Right. What else? I mean, that was really the only main thing that happened. Everything else went fairly smooth. It was BYOB again this year, so every kid can bring up to 60 beers in each. Yeah, it's absurd.
0.
So they have somebody there
60.
counting like,
Yeah.
59!
Look at this lightweight.
So every kid was fucking wasted. You have, Paulie D was playing, and, just for those that want to talk shit, Paulie D is a good DJ. He mixes, he scratches, he does not sync. He scratches vocals, he'll drop it. He's a good DJ.
Do you think that's always been the case? Like he's been a DJ for
he was DJing
a while.
before Jersey Shore stuff, yeah.
Oh.
And we had him at Bluestone. That was my first show ever with PSG. I want to say it was like 2010 or 2011. The first show that they did in Columbus was Paulie D, and I saw him then. I was right behind him, and he was decent, but excuse me, this show, like, I was impressed.
Yeah.
But kids were throwing full beers. A full beer went right over his head a little bit. Almost hit him. A full beer hit one of the one kid from Ray Shremmerd, hit him on the side. They kept going though, like Man,
no kidding.
They were like, they stopped, they looked around, and then he said, somebody throw me up a beer. And next thing you know, a beer's like, whoosh, 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 and everybody's like, oh my God, holy shit, But
so the kids had like coolers, like out?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
They still had bars where you could buy drinks and stuff like that, but at first I think they were charging $10 to bring in up to 60 beers per person, but then they came in and said you couldn't do that because it was like charging for alcohol, I guess, if you will.
So do they do it that way because it's in the original spirit of that party, or is there some like liquor license or legality?
They wanted to take
reason?
it back to a party in the field, and it was a smaller lineup. They just wanted to, cut costs because they had realized that the numbers were kind of going down a little bit. Okay. So why not turn it back into a party in the field, a little bit less of a, baller lineup.
VIP only
and,
type.
And Sean Frank and Boombox Cartel, both great DJs, amazing. Boombox Cartel, I believe, is from Mexico, real heavy, dubby kind of sound. But both great DJs, but the kids were just standing there like.
Was it because
they were waiting? They were waiting for Paulie D and Ray Shremmerd.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they were waiting for, and all the acts were good. I was impressed by all of them. But the kids they wanted the 2 headliners.
Yeah.
Kids are spoiled these days with festivals.
They wanted their dessert first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a lot less patience for the current festival crowd with those kind of like wanting to be introduced to the opening acts? Because I always felt like that was kind of part of the experience of going to a show like that.
Yeah.
Who can I discover along the way?
The numbers of the people that are trying to discover are a little bit, or I don't want to say a little bit, they're way less than the people that are there to see the headliners. It's headliner or not much at all.
Yeah. I think people would rather stay in if they don't know what they're getting into these days, what I mean? And so there's little incentive
being like
for
risk
that.
averse.
Yeah, there's little incentive for that risk because it's like, well,
I could see if I like this new band I've never heard of, or I could play my favorite video game on my couch, or I can Netflix and chill tonight, or whatever, you know. So you've got that pull, I'm sure, that makes people picky / spoiled about what they want to see and what they make time for.
I mean, if you really think about it, for the last, 17? About the last, let's go back 5 years. You know, those kids were not even used to the BYOB at all. You know, and all they've been accustomed to is Diplo, G-Eazy, Migos, Lil Yachty, Marshmello, the Chainsmokers, top tier. You know, Steve Aoki, like the big guys now. So when you want to throw, you know, salt and pepper your lineup a little bit with some upcomers, if your headliner isn't, you know, $1 million headliner, you're not going to get the numbers. You know, kids are I feel like kids are super spoiled these days when it comes to a festival anyway.
Yeah.
Well, but I think with the festival scene becoming so prolific, it's one of those things where I think it's going to destroy itself, the whole festival scene, because it can't. How much bigger can it get?
I guess does it need to get bigger to continue?
I don't think it needs to get bigger. I mean, I feel like a lot of kids that are, you know, 17 or seniors in high school, and their parents start to let them go to festivals. You know, that's happening every year, and it's not stopping. I don't think anytime soon.
It's really hard to say where this is going to go in the next even 10 or 20 years, because there's a weird technology thing happening now with VR and augmented reality and social media and all these things kind of coming together to create these experiences. And there's going to be a lot gained and a lot lost, I think, in that transition. And so, you know, will our kids even, will they have the desire to go to a festival in the way that we think about it? Will there be kind of a replacement or a similar kind
Augmented,
of concept?
Yeah,
or is there going to be some in-between thing? You know, it's kind of hard to say where that's going to go.
I don't know if there's anything out there like that, but I don't know why someone hasn't tried to recreate that opportunity yet in terms of the augmented reality. Like, you go into a booth and you can be in the front row.
Well, Marshmello did it in Fortnite.
Well, yeah,
with a concert. You know, I mean, in a sense, that's almost person.
But he put himself within the game. I'm saying the other way around, where like you have like this room in your house, and you just go in this booth and you put your goggles on, and now you're there.
Or
like VR, it would be the same concept.
Or there in your room.
Yeah. That too.
Holographic projection of a person or whatever.
Hologram Tupac.
DJ booth. Yeah. Which
it's crazy to think like where it could really go. I mean, I guess it just depends on how social people want to be in the future. You know, do they want to be around each other, or would they rather just be soloed in their house and
I
feel
think
like
there's some fundamental need for humans to want to connect, and I think that we get a lot of that through our online connections, but I think we get very used to that, and we start substituting a lot of real interactions with ones that we can do online instead, like wishing our parents a happy birthday or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think that's not a problem that's going to go away.
No.
You know?
But I think that goes to your point earlier, you know, where, you know, the inconvenience piece. You know, like, I don't want to go see I don't want to take a chance and see all these bands that I don't know when I could just stay home and play my video games. You know, I think when someone cracks that nut and they'd be like, hey, you know, you can go see, I don't know, Marshmello in this virtual setting.
Well, part of it too is people are, you know, study that comes out and says that people are just getting busier. They're just doing more shit with their time. So it's like, okay, what do I really want to make time for? And that's, I think, where that picky attitude might come into play there. You
couple the fact that the artists were different and the location is in of itself. It's not really an easy place to get to.
Right.
Because even when I worked for you last year, the artists were having to drive. There were some artists that flew in, did their set, and took off. And the airport.
They fly into Columbus, and then they drive there. And the traffic was actually so bad last year that they had to get they had to put R.L. Grime on the back of one of the Polarises or whatever and get him to the venue because he wasn't about to make his set. There's a lot of inconveniences for real. I mean, take for example Ultra. You know, even the announcers of Ultra were like, you know, you guys at home have the best view. Like, yeah, we actually do. We don't have to deal with you know 100,000 people asshole to elbow or whatever, and we get to watch whoever we want right there.
Funny thing about Ultra, when we were talking about it as it was going on, and I got home on Sunday night, and I was just sort of watching, you know, some highlight footage. I see this, like, you know, they pan on people in the crowd, and I'm like, oh, that girl looks familiar. Pan back on her. This is my cousin.
Shut up.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm like, hey, Mel, that's Alana. Like right there at
That's
Ultra.
funny.
On the big screen.
On FaceTime, like no, like
no, like right there. And she was like, "Oh, wow."
Like that would have been so mind blowing, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that to happen.
Yeah,
and it's still crazy, but it's
of all the
you're like,
people.
oh yeah, that can
of all
happen.
the people at that concert, my niece popped up on the screen like 3 times, and I was like, "What? This doesn't make any sense." Yeah.
Was she wearing skimpy clothes?
No, she's pretty conservative, thank goodness for her. She got a good head on her
Then
shoulders.
it doesn't make sense because those cameramen or whoever's got X's fucking taped over their nipples, that's who they're on. Yeah, seems like it anyway.
Mo, have you been playing gigs? You're usually like the busiest of us, like kind of the working DJ type.
Let's see. So since last time I've been on, had a lot of travel related to work and, you know, like the fitness stuff. But did have a competition. I tested out the DDJ 1000 using not Rekordbox, but DJ Pro.
Yeah.
To try and test the proof of concept for using the Spotify integration.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems, but the one thing I will say about using that, Spotify is not great at identifying songs with explicit content. Some of them will say explicit, but just because they don't say explicit doesn't mean they are clean. So for those of you doing that in a corporate or public or setting like that, just be very cautious. Know your music, just like we say all the time. I did have a wedding since then too, and did the same thing. Was using the Spotify integration.
Gave your card to the girl that does my hair, by the way.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, she's getting married next year, so
cool.
I was like,
thank you, appreciate it.
I know a guy.
Everything's going great, but the only challenge I had was where I said, don't rely on technology because it'll fail you. The facility that I was at, right in the middle of the city, really beautiful venue, but it's a really old building. It's used to be a train depot. So everything's all brick and mortar.
Okay. So
not only is the cell signal bad, because I usually don't use the Wi-Fi for the house Wi-Fi. I use my iPad that's got an antenna in it.
Is this the market?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's top of the market.
It's a cool venue.
Beautiful venue. That's where Tripp actually had his reception.
Yep.
But I don't ever rely on the house Wi-Fi because, you know, when people show up, they start bogging down the network and everything. Yeah. So I wasn't even going to mess with that. But just the way the building is, lots of metal, lots of brick, lots of mortar. So it was causing a lot of interference. And luckily I was by a window, so I had my iPad by the window. And where I had my DJ set up was by the window. But I was averaging maybe 2 bars like the entire night. So songs were loading really slowly. So there were a couple times where I got ahead of it and I noticed like when the load times were increasing. So what I did previously, just to save myself that headache, is with Spotify, you know how you can download songs to your device or your computer?
Yep.
All the songs that they wanted for like their ceremony and the first dance and all that stuff, I just went ahead and downloaded those to my computer, so I wouldn't have to stream them.
So you can cache those.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, you can create an entire playlist and cache those too if you want. Yeah. I have no idea how much data it takes, but I mean I have a pretty robust amount of storage remaining on my laptop, so I wasn't too worried about it. So, but there were a couple times where people made requests, and I would try to load them up, and I was like, you know, because like the waveform will pop up and it's gray. And then as it loads, like it'll turn, the color will fill in.
So at least you get a chance, you get reaction time, right? Because you get to see if it's properly loaded or not. And if it's taken a while, you could like bail and just kind of, I guess that would be where like a 4th deck or a 3rd deck would come in handy, so you can load a request there. Yeah. And if it takes a while.
Yeah, and you can do that. There was one time where I actually had to load something onto my iPad because it just was taking too long. And like the way my set was going at that time, it wasn't conducive to what I I couldn't think fast enough, basically, so I just resorted to using other tools.
Yeah.
But while you're using DJ, though, you can play anything that you have in your iTunes library as well, or whatever library system that you use. But I use a Mac, so that's what I deal with. So you kind of have the flexibility of using everything that you have.
Yeah.
Just like I said, the key being flexibility. But if you're going to use that, especially if you've never been to the venue and this is the first time I ever did an event there, just be cognizant of things like that. Because the last thing you want is for the song to cut out during their first dance or something like that because it's not loading fast enough.
Yeah, I think that's that having a third deck thing. Like I've talked about this before. Like I always think of my third or fourth deck as like a utility deck, but I'm always using it in the context of having a loop ready or something like that. But in that case, it would be kind of handy just, is this going to load properly? Because I assume you can tell when it's done, right? Like
everything will turn. The full waveform will be all colored in.
Yeah.
And then one other event that I did was Edm Tuesday, and again I was trying to
that's right,
do that proof of concept using the Spotify to play an entire set. So I didn't plan a set. I kind of made a crate of songs that I had listened to and just kept chucking them in this crate. A day or two before, I went and sort of kind of came up with a soft game plan based on key and BPM and like how I wanted to go, and played it without any issues. The only thing I did notice though with the effects is that
my bad.
That's staying in.
On the DDJ 1000, the effects don't play through the headphones when you're queuing. It only plays through the out.
Okay.
So there was a couple times where I was trying to use an effect on the dial, and I was like,
so you didn't know if like an effect was going to come in like full bore.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
You couldn't preview it.
And then at one point, because I use in-ear monitors, I don't use headphones, and for some reason I had one out one time, and then I tried to use an effect, and I could hear it out there, but I couldn't hear it in my ears. So I was like, oh shit, that's kind of a pisser, because now you don't know like if you're using too much or too little or whatever, and you can't use all the color effects either. You can use pitch and filter, I think, and that's it. So you don't get the full functionality of the DDJ 1000, but I'll take that for the amount of flexibility it's given me, because like in the corporate space that I live in, that's good enough for me, because the people at these gigs don't care about if I'm beat matching, if I'm in key or whatever. And I just did that show at therapy just to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And it worked. But I think if I'm going to do like a proper show in the future, I would just resort to Record Box or Tractor, because that's what those things are created for.
Here on the DJ booth, the
Hercules
Universal DJ, and so that uses the proprietary Hercules software, Juiced, I think it's called, and so it's just that's basically all it's built around is that particular software, and it's pretty good for beginners. Like that's what they really gear it towards is maybe you're interested in DJing, you want to give this a whack,
low price point.
Yeah, like even when you first load it up, it's like, hey, thanks for getting a new Hercules controller. Let's learn the basics of DJing, and it just like tells you like what DJing's about and stuff.
Wow.
So it's really focused on the beginner. And the controller itself is great. It's pretty well built, and it's plastic, but like kind of that shape that it has where it's real thin and then it kind of curves up, just makes it real rigid. And so like I'm pretty happy with the controller. Not a big fan of the software though.
It's pretty sturdy feeling too.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like a toy.
Yeah, the hardware is good. I'm not so sure about the software, because it just seemed like really. So it had kind of like a sampler thing, and so I started using that, and it was kind of like a remix deck. But then like it would just kind of randomly fall out of sync, like for no particular reason. Like it should snap to a grid, and it just didn't seem like it was as well as something like Tractor or something like that would. So I don't think, but it's not really meant to be for prime time either. It's meant to introduce somebody to DJing. So
what's the price point on that?
It's $199.
Okay, and then it looks like you can use a computer or a iDevice
it's
or
pretty
tablet
neat.
of some sort.
Yeah, you can use a tablet, but it connects with Bluetooth. So it's not like a USB thing. And then it has a hybrid, like a multi-screen mode. So you can do like the normal DJ controller thing and play it on the laptop, and then have like a tablet over here and use that to trigger samples or do stuff like that, which is really neat, and it was fun to play with. And in the review, it'll probably be out by the time this episode goes live. There's like a little remix pack in there that's like a little trancey kind of thing. And I was like, I was like jamming on it and having fun, but then like it would kind of come out of time, and I was like,
Was there any with the using Bluetooth? Was there a lot of latency? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Full stop.
Yeah.
There just is.
Yeah.
And so I compare in the video, like, here's what a fast kind of scratch sounds like on Bluetooth on the tablet versus connected straight to the laptop, and you can definitely tell like those. Like I would do like a scratch, and then like a double scratch, like I was trying to do that, and it just wouldn't pick up those double scratches. It just, no matter how fast I did it. So yeah, the Bluetooth is. I'm just not a big fan of Bluetooth in the DJ booth.
Can you hardwire it, or?
I tried using. I'll show it for the YouTube audience. One of these USB camera adapters for my iPad, and it didn't work.
Okay.
So it's apparently strictly a Bluetooth thing. Okay. Because I was like, if it would work with that would actually be really great. That's how I would prefer to use it. But other than that, I mean, like I said, the hardware itself is pretty great, and everything's pretty sturdy. So I dig it. So I'm trying to be brutally honest about my opinions on the software while being fair to the hardware, because it is pretty decent. And then, man, outside of that, I've just been, creating content and trying to come up with new content ideas for your personal YouTube channel. It's like I need one more project, right?
Because you need more shit to do.
Yeah, like that's why I'm itching to do it and not doing it yet. But like just to do like DJ sets and somewhere to put productions, and also just like for content that might not necessarily fit with Passionate DJ, just like nerd shit, or like here's a review of Super Metroid for Super Nintendo, or like whatever I just randomly feel like doing. So like one idea I had, there's these YouTube channels where people restore old hardware and they'll retrobrite it and clean it up and make it look like new, 90s computers or video game consoles and whatever. And I was like, man, I have a pile of old Macs somewhere sitting in a shed at our old house that we have since sold, but we had a tenant in it, and I hadn't seen this stuff for like 10 years. And so I called the person up who owns the house now, and I was like, hey,
is there a box full of old computers
I know
in
this
there?
is weird, but so she's like, yeah, come on over. And I went and I dug around in the attic and the shed, and it's gone. So either I got rid of it and forgot at some point, or somebody else really wanted a pile of old Macs. But I was really disappointed, because I was like, man, that's like stuff from my childhood. I would love to see like if there's any old data on there, whatever, old conversations I had with people in the 90s
found a speaking
or whatever.
spell.
I saw like a photo where someone had taken like an old school desktop, like just old, like those cream colored ones, really generic, but like on the inside it was just like a monster.
Like a water cooled, overclocked, like mega machine.
Put that on your desk at work. Oh no, I can't do it. I only use it on 3 1/4. I can't do this.
It wasn't a total loss though. I found a couple of cool things. So like over in that corner over there, that's that thing that container is sitting on. That's actually a big giant tape deck. It's like a fancy audiophile cassette player.
Dude, we can make some mixed. Oh, but then no one can listen.
I want to see if it works, but I don't have any tapes. So I'm gonna have to like order one, because apparently tapes are becoming a thing again. But I just want to see if it works.
I got a couple shoe boxes full of old tapes, probably. Yeah.
Do you care if it gets eaten or destroyed? Because I don't know what'll happen if I put it in that old thing.
Probably not, because I have no way to play them anyway. So.
Man, what else did I find? A bunch of old like awards from my piano playing days, like from contests. And,
he's a concert pianist.
Wow, concert might be a bit of an exaggeration. Let me show you what else I found. You keep talking. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. So this is you've heard us talk about them on the show before, but it's called a CD.
So I found this old thing. It's an old CD jewel case. It says David Michael Demo Cut 2006. And these are originals of mine. Not a DJ set, but there's 8 like actual original tracks that I made in like the early 2000s.
Oh, no way, nice.
And it says "Take One" on the front. So like apparently I'd taken this to some kind of event and must have given them all away because this was the only one I had.
Not true.
It's the one that says "Take One." Let me see what's on the back. There's a track list.
Does it have that Through the Looking Glass on there?
It does not.
Oh.
It has my remix of Genie in a bottle on it though, which I actually really like.
It was like a Booty House remix or something?
No, it's like a super trancy version. I remember most of these. Most of these are not very good. Maybe I should just like do a live stream and play them and
Put them on the
myself under the
YouTube,
bus.
yeah.
There's a Seosin remix on here. They're like an emo band. Yeah, but it was pretty cool, and it's in good shape. Ooh, it says David at edmohio.com on it. I haven't owned that domain for probably since 2006. My old phone number on it. It's in good shape. Should play.
Nice.
I'll do something with that.
Speaking of old shit, the invite for the Limp Bizkit concert has been going around again.
The infamous Dayton Sunoco, which seems to have gone everywhere.
Yeah. I was watching the video again the other day, and I didn't realize John Chappell is in that video.
What video?
When they're talking to the news, and they're
really?
talking to everybody that's out there, and
John Chappell was out
yeah,
there?
John Chappell is in the video.
Was he being John Chappell?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He didn't. It didn't surprise me that he was in there, and 2 that he was just being John Chappell.
We can't even get him back on the show. He's out there on the news.
Or to leave us voicemails anymore.
Yeah, it was Ron Chorple. Those were the days.
Yeah. He also got Morgan Freeman to leave us a voicemail one time too.
That's true.
Yes, he did.
That's right. I forgot about that. This is Morgan Freeman. I like Passionate DJ. I think that wasn't that for some kind of special episode, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
And then was Ron Churple, was he the one that was having DJ problems and calling us for advice?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, we're coming up on 200, episode 200.
Maybe we should have Mr. Chorple back on.
I think we should do like we did 100 and just have like a bunch of friends of the show come in and hang out and maybe do like a 2-hour thing.
Well, now that you have a lot more robust stuff in here.
Yeah, it's a lot better
creates
situation.
a lot more opportunities, yeah.
A lot more mixer channels and less
Headsets, yeah.
camera nonsense to deal with.
Yeah, that was a fun day. That was a fun day for me.
We made it work. It was ghetto, but we made it work.
Yeah, absolutely ghetto. What do you guys think we should do for episode 200, especially for those guys that were there for 100?
Yeah, post it in the comments.
Yeah.
We haven't been doing those calls to action. Post in the comments. Tell us what you think.
And yeah, leave us a voicemail.
And also hit up, I'm telling you, hit up, if you're on Facebook, hit up that Passionate DJ community group. It's awesome. Like every week, there's just awesome threads in there. It's very low on spammy promotion stuff because there's a rule in there for that. And anytime it does happen, we clear it out.
But you actually did create another avenue.
Yeah, so people wanted to know about doing for sale posts. And traditionally, I just haven't made any rule about that. And it was just like, whatever, it hasn't been a thing. But then
And it's never really come up.
It hadn't, yeah. And now it started to come up like, hey, can I post this for sale post? And initially I was like, no, that's too spammy for this group. That's not what this group is for. But then it was like, well, I really do want to help DJs. And so we kind of talked about it in the Slack channel, us, the team, behind the scenes, and ended up creating the Passionate DJ Marketplace. So if you go to join the main group, you can also join the Marketplace if you want to get those kind of for sale posts, and then you can control the notifications for that separately. So if you just want to see them every now and then, if you want to browse it, it's kind of up to you. But you get to stay in the main awesome community group, which just has discussions and questions and people sharing their awesome DJ rigs and
A lot of
rooms.
interaction.
And, yeah, it's been pretty cool. Okay.
But then since the last time we recorded, we also went to Dayton Podfest too.
Yes. So Dayton Podfest was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was.
I
I didn't really know what to expect.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
So it was like, is this going to be like a stage thing? Is this going to be like us recording live? And we kind of went back and forth about it. And turned out, it was both of those things.
Yeah.
We were up on a stage. We had spotlights on us.
Yeah, shout out to Izzy Martin.
Yeah.
He kind of just gave us carte blanche to do whatever we want to do, but we didn't know what we wanted to do or what we were going to do. So,
well, we talked about the crossover between our two shows, with the One More Rep, and so kind of like our roles as content creators, and just kind of took it that way. So that was pretty cool. I don't know. Did you hear numbers? There was probably a good 100 people there.
At least,
I would say.
It was really cool early on during the workshop portion because there were lots of people there that had just started podcast or were thinking about starting podcast or somewhere in between, and just seeing a lot of people there having a resource like that. Because when I started, I mean, I had you to lean on, but then when you started, I mean, what did you have? Like maybe a YouTube video?
Yeah, and other podcast tutorials, Pat Flynn and people like that who are more internet markety type people. Like, here's how to create a podcast, here's how to create a blog and monetize it. So I had those kind of tutorials and blog posts to follow, but outside of that, it's very much trial and error.
Yeah,
and
you just try some shit and see what works.
So were the people in the crowd?
Yeah,
watching you guys, sitting down watching you guys. Nice. Good thing I wasn't there. Sorry, Terry. Not my gig.
Yeah, it started off in a smaller room, and that.
It was divided into two rooms.
Yeah.
It was the old
Brightside.
Brightside. I know the venue.
So that back room, they had piped the sound into there where the bar was.
Okay.
So if you wanted to go back there and kind of socialize and stuff, you could do that without being rude and interrupting
the podcast.
Yeah, which was really cool.
But you could still hear it.
Right.
So people would kind of wander back and forth. That was cool.
Yeah, and then so that first part, it was just kind of a Q&A session, and people had all kinds of questions, and I can't even think what kind of questions I would have asked if I would have had a platform like that. But lots of emails and phone numbers were exchanged, so it's cool that us veterans,
except they put us on after 3 different slots where they had legit radio
real DJs.
So we're just hey, we have podcasts.
Yeah, there was one girl from the local NPR affiliate in the first group. The 2 guys before us were from the local hip hop station,
and somebody was from TUE or Mix 107 or one of those.
Yeah,
one of the big ones.
And then me and Dave.
Yeah, I'm just hey. I want to talk to some of those people though, and see because some of them would probably have some stuff to share on our show. But.
Absolutely, and then we also got an opportunity to talk to Chris Heckman, who is the sound engineer, and he takes care of all the lighting for Brightside.
I met Chris, didn't I?
You met him before. Yeah, I've introduced you to him before. But it was just kind of cool. We kind of ambushed him and did an interview and posted that on the video for last episode. So that was kind of cool. There's some more content in there, and then we're actually going to try and get him on the show so he can come and talk to us about sound and stuff. So,
fellas, anything else you want to talk about here while we've got the mics going? Or
thanks for sending that DJ hookup discount after I had bought a flight case.
You're not the only person that said that. Greg, one of our ambassadors, was like, I just
bought a mic. Thanks a lot. No, but it was actually pretty sweet. It's cool to share the story of how you guys met and how that relationship developed. To everybody else out there on the show, because Dave told us a little bit about it.
And Alex had no obligation, by the way, to create that coupon code and give that discount. I just kind of popped the idea in his head, and he's like, I'll have something by tomorrow and set it up.
And that was super cool.
Yeah.
But also for him to kind of explain, his, I won't say use the word failure, but the challenges that he had. It was nice of him to share that, and it kind of made me feel, I won't say better, but how he talked about, you can come back to that.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Like I was telling Tony, I have 5 mixers in my house, and I can't play them all at the same time, But
I'm glad that that's what you took away from that. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm glad that's what you took away from that, because I was worried that we were taking that conversation in kind of a negative direction. For people who are excited and passionate about DJing, to talk about what happens if you just don't want to do that anymore. Not that would be the first time we've talked about it, but that was the greater point that I wanted to make sure that people took home was it's not going anywhere. You can take a break or a hiatus and feel okay doing that because it exists. And here it is.
And the reason why that I caught that piece is because I took that break for about 15 years when I had kids.
Yeah, and now you're probably more involved than you've ever been as a DJ, right?
Probably, but under less sketchy conditions than in the 90s and early 2000s.
Moving on up.
Yeah, bossing up a little bit. But, Yeah, I know initially when I stepped away from it, there was that, like, I was missing it. And then as my new life as a father and a husband started to develop, I kind of missed it less. But there were still times where, like, I would just hear an old song that I used to play and be like, man, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm raising 3 kids under 10. I can't just go splurge and buy, you know, 2 1200s and, you know, in a mixer. But fast forward, you know, my career's has gotten a lot bigger. My kids don't require as much attention. And honestly, I think maybe part of the reason why my wife bought that for me is because she saw the impact that my kids having their own lives was having on me, because I wasn't that important anymore. So that
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think that really filled a gap.
Boy, I'm not to make it too sad, but I'm having my first taste of that as a parent
Yeah.
now. Like her first twinges of like wanting
Independence.
independence,
Yeah.
and like not wanting to spend every waking moment with
With Day.
with Day.
Yeah. Oh, for me, like
I didn't expect it to affect me because
Oh.
like I saw it coming miles away, but the past week or two has been like I've been a little sad about
Well,
it.
I mean, I have the benefit of having 4 kids. My oldest is 20. My youngest, she just turned 15.
So not your first rodeo.
Not my first rodeo, but I knew that my daughter was going to devastate me the most because that's my homegirl, you
Yeah.
know. And then fast forward or rewind to yesterday, huge day because not only did she get her braces off, but she also got contacts. And when I saw her, I'm like, "You're not. Stop. You look like you're grown. No, get the braces back on and put those glasses back on too." They're just like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm gonna go buy another gun this weekend.
Yeah, it's an adjustment for sure, but
Yeah.
But she's awesome, and she makes it easy, so I can't complain too much.
But hearing that in the episode, kind of like, I guess it was reassuring to know that other people have been faced with that, because a lot of times within ourselves we think we're the only ones going through a particular issue, and then when you hear somebody tell your story with their words, you're like, oh, well, shit, I'm not the only one.
And I think that's the thing about Alex is he's not afraid to say what's on his mind about stuff like that, whereas I think some people are, especially if it's something that's like important to them or they might be defensive about. Like you could probably kind of tell like his attitude is kind of like, man, fuck it, like, I'm going to tell you how it is. But hearing somebody say those words, but then to realize that it's kind of okay, it's like, yeah, I thought that was a cool moment to bring on the show.
Yeah, absolutely was not expecting to get out of that particular show what I did. I mean, it's cool that he told us his story, but it's also cool that he shared his individual story. So that took a lot of courage.
He's got a cool story, and he's built a cool brand around it. And so, yeah, he was a great guest, and we have lots of great guests coming up. We talked a little bit earlier. I'll drop another teaser in here. We spoke a little bit about augmented reality and VR and all that kind of stuff, and we are in talks with somebody who is deep in
some
the business
some next level shit
of some next level DJ shit in the realm of virtual reality. So I've got a meeting coming up with somebody who works in that space, and it's probably going to turn into an interview. We'll try to get him on the show,
Red or blue,
and talk about that.
Which pill are you going to take?
That's right. And with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Passionate DJ Podcast. Keep on spinning.